Walnut Comfort. This is the 6th formula in our special care range. And as its name suggests, comfort, this is a very supportive formula for pain. Children who have indigestion and suffer with gripes, wind and cramp in their tummies are often very, very miserable. The intriguing thing about this program, the 7 special care formulas, is that each formula, is part of the program that releases and untangles the knots, if you like, of the traumas that affect a child with special needs and special care. Walnut Comfort is a very important part of the philosophy. This formula forms the basis of supporting the lower mesenteric plexus, the solar plexus, the navel, though so below, and the yellow area of the body. This area is linked with the liver meridian, the stomach meridian, the gallbladder, and the small intestine meridians. And these are all to do with the way we metabolize and digest food. Have you ever noticed that certain children are very faddy about their food? Maybe your child doesn't want to eat certain foods. It's often because they associate that food with discomfort and pain. Unfortunately, there are quite a lot of foods in modern society that cause allergy and intolerance. And intolerance is quite an important word. Intolerance to food is not an allergy, but it's simply a discomfort which occurs as a result of eating certain foods. Some people are constitutionally quite incapable of dealing with acidic foods. And most autistic children, most special care and special needs children, have a lack of ability to metabolize these acid foods. Into that category falls citrus, raw tomatoes, shellfish, pork, which is unfortunately sausages and ham as well as bacon, and of course gluten. And gluten comes with wheat. Unfortunately, yes, white bread and wheat products, bread, buns, croissants, white flour cakes, all of these foods are very difficult for certain children to tolerate, and especially children with special needs. So they should be avoided. It's much, much better to give children oats and rice biscuits and rice cakes than to give them bread, especially when they have behavioural concerns, hyperactivity. There's a huge amount of research to link an untoward child, a hyperactive child, with what they're eating. And so this is a very, very interesting formula. It's also linked with the umbilical cord, the cutting of the umbilical cord, the birth. And there may have been birth trauma. We often find children where the umbilical cord has been cut too quickly, and so they haven't received the stem cells, and this is something you should look into because it's very fascinating. They are often immunocompromised, and so it is a most important procedure to leave the baby attached to the umbilical cord until it stops pulsing. This allows the stem cells to pass through into the baby and to give them a really, really important and vital start to life. The other aspect about Walnut Comfort, if you just look at a walnut, there's a fascinating signature. Walnuts look like the brain. They also, historically and in all the children's stories, Tom Thumb, the little tiny miniature child, slept in a walnut shell because that was his cradle. So this is a fascinating situation that walnuts have been used quite historically for healing all sorts of complicated health problems. And it is fascinating that an old remedy for diabetes, for example, is walnuts. Walnuts are very healthy to eat, but the essence of walnut is particularly special for comforting little children with any form of indigestion or digestive concerns. There is also another link with this formula, which is very important indeed, and it's for orchitis. Now, orchitis and glandular imbalances, tubal tonsil imbalances, are all associated with an illness called mumps. Mumps is very dangerous for little boys, more dangerous than for little girls, in fact. And there isn't any doubt that we need to support our children against mumps, but we also need to ensure that when they're having the MMR that they are comfortable and supported as well. The complication with mumps is that it often doesn't manifest as a serious health problem until later. It can affect the tubal tonsils and cause a swelling around the glands of the throat and the neck, but it can also cause some quite serious glandular swellings in the deep lymphatic system behind the cisterna chyli and beside the liver gallbladder area of the digestive tract. This is called the blind gut, and this often leads to quite serious inabilities to assimilate and digest nutrition. Children who have this condition are often hyperactive. They're often difficult to manage. They may scream and shout, and they may even hurt themselves. I've experienced, very sadly, little children with this situation who literally gnaw away at their hands until they bleed. It's almost as if pain somewhere else distracts from the terrible discomfort of the bowel imbalances. I don't know if you've ever suffered with IBS, but it's very uncomfortable. And so children with this form of digestive pain need comfort. This beautiful, beautiful Walnut Comfort is very valuable indeed. As you also know, we constantly hear about the statistics of diabetes. Constantly, we're always being told that children are obese, that there's very high levels of diabetes. And of course, the blame is on sugars, and of course sugars are responsible. Of course they are. A lot of food is very heavily laden with sugars. But there are certain chemicals that mimic the disturbance of sugar. And here we need to look at what happens when we microwave food. There's a lot of contention about microwaves. They're very convenient, but I personally don't like them. And a lot of my research has shown that food that's been microwaved often has a change in its balance, and it's far more difficult to uptake nutrition from microwave food. Personally, I don't like it because I don't think it tastes very nice. I always get a tingling sensation on my tongue, so I tend to avoid it as much as I possibly can. But the truth of the matter is that there are some very, very important essential fatty acids that all of us need to protect our hearts, our brains, our gallbladders, our livers, our kidneys, and all the vital organs of the body. These essential fatty acids, omegas 3 and 6 and 9 and 7, they're all found in nuts and grains and seeds and meat, fish and dairy products. They're incredibly important. I do actually advise parents with children with special needs to supplement with vitamin D. I always advise pure, natural vitamin D. If it's not possible for the children to eat foods that are rich in vitamin D because they don't like fish, or they don't like eggs, or they don't like certain, or they're allergic to eggs, then of course supplementing can be very necessary. Children should be encouraged to run around in the garden, even in the winter, with the light, because light creates vitamin D in the body. Covering children up in sun creams and oils and synthetic chemicals is very dangerous. When we were children, oh my goodness me, we all ran around in the gardens. We were always outside playing, even in the snow. We were always outside. Our energies were stable as a result of the fresh air, the sunshine and the sunlight. So vitamin D's and essential fatty acids are of monumental importance, especially with children who are not well. Vitamin D is found in food, of course, and dairy products such as full cream milk, full cream butter, full cream yogurt. Never give children food that is low in fat. It is not good, and it's laced with lactose and sugars. It's almost 90% sugar and no essential fats. Essential fatty acids are vital. And this is another thing about cooking foods and cooking fats, and particularly microwaving food, is that these essential fats are converted into a toxic substance called trans fats. Trans fats are very, very dangerous, and of course they are found in margarines and spreads and synthetic fats. Not safe, and particularly not safe for children who need special protection. Walnut Comfort, our 6th formula, is a very, very important formula, and to be frank, an enormous number of adults need this formula. It's very supportive, and I think you'll find that it's an important part of the programme. If you'd like to know more about these formulas, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you.